are these people?
I wanted to cover this because we love Stefania Maurizi. We always are talking about what's going on with Assange news, but this again is a story I haven't seen anybody talking about, which is that Stefania, who is the FOIA queen, I don't know if you are aware of who Stefania Maurizi is. Follow her on Twitter at @Maurizi, Maurizi. She's an Italian journalist. All of a sudden I hear myself echoed, but that's okay. What she learned in this new FOIA release that was published just the other day, on Tuesday, was that exclusive FOIA documents expose how in July 2010, when WikiLeaks hadn't even published the secret files on the war in Afghanistan, a large-scale investigation on WikiLeaks had already been launched, with the American authorities relying on spies, informants, and hidden microphones. This is in 2010. And yet, U.S. authorities had no certainty that the WikiLeaks journalist who had chatted with Chelsea Manning was actually Julian Assange. The WikiLeaks founder had denounced spying and surveillance tactics against WikiLeaks from the very beginning, and many media had dismissed those concerns as paranoia. Documents vindicate Assange. Once again, he was right. What are we talking about? Well, again, Stefania has been relentless in pursuing and filing FOIA requests with governments all over the world to learn about what they knew about Julian Assange and what they were communicating about Julian Assange. And what she says here is that U.S. authorities considered detaining him in the at the U.S. border in July 2010 before WikiLeaks had revealed the secret documents on the war in Afghanistan, and had enlisted at least one informer willing to wear a microphone to spy on conversations about WikiLeaks during a well-known hackers conference in New York, to which Assange had been invited. Now it makes me think that the invite itself was a setup to try to nab him. Just 12 weeks after WikiLeaks published the Collateral Murder video, the U.S. investigation into WikiLeaks involved several military units, including Army intelligence agents, agents with the Department of the Army CID, the Computer Crimes Investigative Unit, and Army CID and attorneys. But despite all these investigative resources, 4 months after the arrest of Chelsea Manning, U.S. authorities had yet to establish with certainty that the person who had talked to Manning under the nickname Nathaniel Frank was in fact Julian Assange. Revealing this information for the first time are exclusive documents we've been able to obtain after a lengthy battle under FOIA in the United States against the State Department. They reveal what happened behind the scenes in those months of 2010 when WikiLeaks published the classified U.S. documents for which Assange now risks 175 years in a maximum security prison. Wow. After publishing the Collateral Murder video, WikiLeaks became an international phenomenon. On July 7, 2010, U.S. authorities wrote, quote, Army CID developed a plan to conduct surveillance in New York City in mid-July at a large gathering of well-known computer hackers. Army CID believes that the WikiLeaks case will be a topic of discussion and have enlisted a cooperating individual, a CI, to assist in their investigation. Army CID anticipates that the founder of WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, may attend the conference. The large gathering in New York was, and still is, one of the most important hackers conferences in the U.S. That year, Hackers on Planet Earth, or HOPE, was to be held July 16th through 18th, a week before WikiLeaks published the Afghan war logs. I didn't know any of this stuff, right? Chelsea Manning, who of course we know is the source who leaked the classified U.S. documents to WikiLeaks, had already been arrested on May 27, 2010, after confessing during a chat with Adrian Lamo, despite having never met him before, that it was she who had leaked these documents to WikiLeaks. The files included classified U.S. Army information and around 260,000 U.S. diplomatic cables. What better opportunity for the American authorities than to nab Assange at the Hope Conference? Army CID may attempt to detain Assange at the New York-Canadian border if they get information about its arrival, FOIA documents read. However, Assange did not travel to the United States. American investigative journalist and computer security expert Jacob Applebaum gave a keynote address at Hope on his behalf. Sounds like he may have known something was up. And not only that, he was a week away from publishing. Yep. He was head down, man. He was nowhere near being able to attend a conference like this. Despite the Hope Conference being a public event, FOIA documents reveal that the Army CID had a cooperating individual who has agreed to wear a microphone while attending the Hope Conference. It is reasonable to conclude that the microphone was presumably intended to spy on private conversations regarding WikiLeaks, considering the public talks and conversations held were accessible to everyone. Yeah, why wear a wire to a place that it's public keynotes? Obama gave his keynote, then flew to Europe, but upon his return to the U.S., was detained and interrogated at the airport. By the way, they do this to every independent journalist now. That is standard procedure. They detained Caleb Maupin, I believe, when he returned from the U.S., from Russia after observing their elections. And I believe they did the same to Dan Kovalet. Although the U.S. authorities could rely on microphones, informants, and considerable resources, almost 4 months after Manning had been arrested, they were apparently not yet certain that Nathaniel Frank, with whom Manning had chatted before passing on the U.S. classified documents, was actually Julian Assange. They believed it, but they didn't know. There's a minority opinion that Frank could be a WikiLeaks associate. Okay, that's what a FOIA document dated in September 2010 says. The name of the WikiLeaks associate is redacted in the FOIA document, as are many other items of information. We will soon be initiating a legal battle to get those redactions removed. The U.S. authorities have obstructed the FOIA process. Yeah, I want to know who the rat is, who they think that was going to wear a wire. The U.S. authorities have obstructed the FOIA process for years. In our FOIA litigation, we've been represented completely pro bono by two American lawyers, Alia Smith and Lauren Russell, with the Ballard Spahr law firm. Quote, we've been frustrated by the incredible amount of time it's taken for the Department of State to complete the processing on Maurizi's FOIA request, they told FQ Extra. Even given the complications of reviewing during COVID, the years of delay have been unacceptable. We are glad to have helped our client get the bulk of the requested records, albeit 6 years since she submitted her FOIA request, and hope this matter can finally come to a close soon. Contacted by Il Fatto Quotidiano and asked to comment on these revelations, WikiLeaks editor Kirsten Hernafson replied, quote, it is worrying that Julian was in the U.S.'s crosshairs this early. It shows the early determination by the U.S. administration to stifle journalism when it suits them, unquote. Well, yeah.
Well, this is the problem with the plea deal, too, that has been talked about recently. Because, like, I think didn't we read somewhere that for those plea deals, he has to come over here anyway to, like, do that?
I did not read that,
and
but
like him being on U.S. soil,
right?
I distinctly remember that like they couldn't do it over the phone or whatever, and that was an issue. You know, like,
as you see in the chat, free Julian Assange.
So
journalism is not a crime.
Yeah,
this man should be free 100%.